Hi, George. Thanks for agreeing to have this interview. I know that you're very busy at the moment with all sorts of projects, and I'm sure that the students will be very appreciative of your involvement in this. Just to start off, could you just tell me or us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is George Samuels, also known as Siosi in Tuvaluan, and I am the creative director for Siosism, and we essentially help people understand their story and heritage through animation and the web.
Fantastic. And I know a little bit about this myself, having spent some time working in Tuvalu. So could you tell me a little bit about your Tales from Nanumea project?
Definitely. The Tales from Nanumea series is an animated series that I started. Oh, when was it? Back in about 2008. It's a project based on the myths and legends of Nanumea, Tuvalu. Nanumea being one of the 8 islands that make up Tuvalu, and it's just a way of, or my way of preserving the culture in the face of the whole island sinking, pretty much as a result of global warming.
Yes, and to add to that, for the students, of course, Tuvalu, is one of the smallest, island nations in the world, isn't it? And
Yes.
only about five meters above sea level. So
Yes.
it's a very sort of crucial sort of area, and often referred to as the sort of canary in the gold mines.
Yep.
One of the first peoples to be affected by climate change.
Yes.
Which of course is relevant to our students who are looking at environmental management issues and
Yep.
and so on.
Yeah. Should I probably mention what my cultural background is?
Yeah, maybe that would be a good idea. Yeah.
Yep. My mother is Tuvaluan Samoan, and my dad is Fijian Indian. So that's my connection to Tuvalu. Just in case people were wondering,
Yes, yeah, because we're talking to each other and we know all about that.
Exactly.
But there's going to be quite a few students who don't necessarily know about that part of the world.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm particularly interested in what you're doing in that project, and I told the students actually that we've been talking about maybe doing some sort of support materials for students to go with your videos.
Yep.
And that's where it sort of fits in with what the students are being asked to do in terms of developing materials or a communication strategy to get a particular message across.
Great.
So I particularly like your project because it matches that cultural and the environmental and sustainability approach as well, with the whole exciting field of animation.
Yes.
And with that in mind, my next question is, what inspires you to get into animation in the first place?
Probably, well, when I was really young, I remember my godfather took me to see an Aladdin film. So that had a pretty profound experience on me. Especially, I remember it was like the beginning scene where was it Jafar who came out of the lion's mouth? And yeah, it was just mesmerizing and magical. And I also had a lot of sort of interest in like Ninja Turtles. I had a lot of action. I was really interested in action cartoons and animations growing up. And then, little did I know, I got really interested in computers, and I probably leaned more towards the creative side. But when I was in school, I just took up any sort of computer programming class. So I had this sort of blend between the technical side and the creative. And animation just seems to bring together all different sorts of aspects of creativity. You got the researching side when you're referencing things. You've got the filmmaking techniques. You got the storytelling that you have to sort of get down, and I just really enjoyed learning every aspect of it, and I had no idea that I'd be pursuing it as something that I really enjoyed later on as sort of as a career.
That's great. You mentioned their storytelling.
Yes.
Which is fantastic, because that actually leads into the next question, because the students are being asked to do a communication strategy.
Yep.
And to communicate a message or a story to a particular audience
Yeah.
or group of people, do you think there are any audiences or messages that are more likely to be influenced by using animation or sort of lend themselves to the animated approach?
That's a really interesting question because, at least for me, for the type of stories that I do, and I primarily use 2D animation just because I'm drawn to it the most. But I found that like women, children, and the indigenous are drawn the most, or at least when you're combining culture and animation. They seem to get it, in my opinion. But really, I think animation has a wide appeal to all ages. I'll take, for example, there's this Nickelodeon TV series called Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that's really sort of spoke to people from their really young ages to much older, and the animation industry itself was at the beginning stages primarily male dominated, but now I'm noticing a lot more women getting involved and interested as well. They probably always were, but just didn't have the same opportunities as they do now. And the storytelling aspect of animation, I think, no matter what the medium, animation is just like one other way of telling a good story. So at the crux, you really need to just make sure you have a good story before worrying about whether you're going to be using animation or live action or something of the sort. Animation just speaks to, I guess, people like myself who enjoy that magical quality, that magical essence, and it also allows you to do things that you just cannot do with live action. In terms of portraying, the fantastical or, a lot of our myths and legends, really.
That's great. I like the way you talk about the magical aspect, because that's probably a key word which people might sort of pick up on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
my phones are going off left, right, and centre of all times.
Of course, it's always like that, isn't it?
So I'm just trying to cut my phones off from ringing in the middle of this. The magical aspect of that is a key word in terms of the storytelling. So I'm sure the students can sort of pick up on that and think about how that relates to what they might be doing.
Yep.
So the next question, the students that we have, is a wide range of students, and they're not necessarily skilled visual creators or creative, or might not think of themselves as creative people with having ready animation skills. But we are encouraging them to take risks with approaches, and if they might want to take up animation. So what lessons or tips would you give to those who might be wanting to use animation to communicate a conservation message within the task that they have?
Yeah, great one. So there's a sort of like a trend at the moment where a lot of startups or companies are using what they call animated explainer videos. So they're about 1 to 2 minutes long, and they're animations that just really hone in on the message that they're trying to get out. And in some cases, well, now I'm sort of looking at or in discussions with different clients about sort of creating like a company's own myth, like, kind of looking into the future and seeing, what is it that we want to achieve, and then taking that vision and putting it into an animation, and it's like almost bringing that reality into the now. So, say if it's a conservation sort of message, it's like, projecting into the future, making your story about, or your myth or legend about what it would be like if you achieved your mission, and then using that as your message in the now. And when you use animation, it engages the imagination of a lot of people. And also, say for example, if you're using it on the front page of your website, it just reduces the amount of reading that a person has to do, because a lot more people are sort of more inclined to watch a 1 to 2 minute video than read a long page of text. When you sort of see that on a website, you just go and you get high bounce rates where you just leave sort of the page, or you go browsing looking for other things, because many people are very visually oriented. So the technologies now are allowing us to be able to see more moving images, video and animation and such, as opposed to having to just be forced to read static pages of text. And I think this is, they say pictures speak 1,000 words, so it takes about 24, 25 pictures to make 1 second of animation. So just imagine, the amount of sort of subconscious things, or a lot deeper meanings and such going on when you're watching an animated video that's explaining your mission or your cause. And there's also another tip too, would probably be to check out Miguel Hernandez of Grumo Media, and he's pretty much at the forefront of explainer videos, animated ones, and essentially he has a structure of how to tell his story, but as sort of like an effective pitch. And I've used that for my commercial animated videos, at least, to be able to get my message to its core and animate it and tell the story effectively. Because when it comes to sort of business things or organizations or causes, you need to really narrow down your message so it's not a long-winded story as well that people get bored of, because I think people's attention spans are growing shorter and shorter. And I would definitely advise students to keep it to 1 to 2 minutes if they're going to do an animated explainer video. And if they don't have the skills themselves, probably best to find somebody who does, of course, whether it be a freelancer, or you can even outsource these days. The price of getting an animated explainer video done is getting less and less and less. When I first started out, it was going from $7,000 to $12,000. Now I'm seeing things as ridiculous as $300.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That last point, of course, I just explained for the students that in terms of doing their assessment, they probably shouldn't outsource, but
yes.
a lot of them, as we mentioned, will actually be going into positions as environmental managers and environmental planners in the future.
Right.
So we're also trying to explain to them the link between what they're doing in the assessment now and what they probably will be asked at some point to do in their future roles in the professional sense, to actually develop a communication strategy or way of communicating a message. So that's a good piece of information for them to know for future if they want to use that approach. So that's great.
Definitely.
And got back to your point about I actually forgot what the term was that you use now, but I was thinking about how that related to Jonas Sachs's talking about developing a brand hero.
Yes.
Yes, so there was something that you said early on there that resonated with me about that.
Yep.
Great, thanks for that. That's some really good tips to pass on.
Don't worry.
You mentioned also a contact person there. Was it Miguel?
Oh, Miguel Hernandez.
Great. I might get you to.
I'll send you that detail.
Send me a link or something like that I can post to the students, because that actually also segues nicely into the next question, because you talked about Miguel Hernandez and. So do you have any other great examples of people for inspiration or organisations inspiration that you could share?
Yep. Oh, and I just have to get to the top of my head. People who are really effective at telling stories, definitely Free Range Studios.
My favourite.
Yeah, your favorite. I knew you'd say that. You got Free Range Studios. Storytelling wise, there's also getstory.com. You can go. I'll send these links.
Okay.
Just thinking off the top of my head, really, if you just Google in explainer videos, there are a lot of companies popping up now who are creating animated explainer videos really effectively. There are different styles of animations you can do. You got your 2D puppet style animations. You got the whiteboard animation style. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, Hilary.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm interested in all of this, but
Yeah.
I haven't covered the area at all in detail. So
Yeah. I may write an article about that as well, and then send that link to you guys.
that'd be great.
Yeah, because there are certain animation styles that I'm finding, like there's a reason why you don't see a lot of 3D animated explainer videos. One, probably because of time. Two, because there's something about 2D animation and its cuteness factor that also appeals to audiences. And I remember reading about the psychology behind it, but you know, when most adults see babies, you know, the roundness of their shape, of their fatty little arms and things, there's something about the roundness that really appeals to the supporter or the caregiver inside of us. And so that cuteness factor engages us or brings us more into the story as we're watching it. And that's something that I remember Pixar mentioned as well in terms of how they create their characters. Very rarely will you see straight-edged characters, simply because those sharp points are not as pleasing to the eye in terms of you know, bringing viewers in. And you know, those are some of the more subtle things, and I don't know if your students will want to get into that much detail.
Well, if they do choose to take this approach, then it's sort of required the research and theoretic aspect that have done behind it. So, yeah, those people who do take this up will find that level of detail good pointers to start following.
Yep.
Things to look at. So that's great, and so it's a huge area, and we've only really touched on some of it. But really, this short interview was just to, again, as I keep explaining to students, to provide inspiration and my word of encouragement to them, you know, is to take risks. So just to wrap up, do you have any other final encouragement for the students regarding their assessment marks that they have?
Yeah, really, I guess the message and the story, you know, really focus on the story that you want to put out. Good stories hold very good power, and I'm not talking about, you know, sort of the lofty type of power, but, you know, true power in the sense of, like, I see stories as sort of like an extension of the soul, and you know, like the art behind it in terms of animation is just one way you can do that. You know, whatever your mission is, whatever your purpose is, find it and allow it to guide you. That's what has led me to even being able to speak to you today, Hilary, about what I do. If you come across any sort of blocks or challenges, if you really believe in something, think about whether you'd be willing to die for it too. I know that sounds extreme, but that's something that sort of has stuck with me. I don't know if I heard that from watching something about Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi or even any great leader. You know, it's something that once you really know what your vision is and what your message is, people are gonna tell you that, you know, can't be done, how you're gonna make money from it, how you're gonna survive, yada yada yada. But I knew there was a way, and as long as you know there's a way and you know that you have your options, you should be good. Nah, yeah, you know, and well, oh yeah, one other thing too is also, yeah, take the time or use your mission and your business, if you're wanting to build one, as a way to learn more about yourself and find out what your leadership style is, because there are different leader types for different times. My style of leadership may not always be the best sort of leadership at certain times, and it's very important to be aware of that, so you know when to sort of pass the torch on, you know, to a more suitable leader at the right time. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, that's great. That's fantastic, because I think you're talking about you know, having conviction in what in your message, aren't you? Really.
Yep.
To be able to see that through. So if you're a bit half-hearted about it, then you're not going to be a powerful communicator, as you said, and get that message or your story across. So
yeah, it will show definitely.
It will show.
Yep.
That's right. So that's fantastic. I know we've only had a very short time, but I think we've covered a lot of things and inspiration, and you've inspired me to follow up some more of those things with
Wonderful.
mentioned. So that's great. Thanks, George.
No worries, Hilary.